Did you know Super Awesome Mix has an app? Go to the Apple App Store today and download Super Awesome Mix. It's free. You could start creating and sending your own digital mixtapes in just a few clicks. Also, there's links to our Instagram account and a link where you can follow your favorite podcast. Speaking of which, welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. My name is Matt Sidholm, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Super Awesome Mix, Samer Abu Salbi. Samer, how we doing this week?
Doing real well. It's that time of year again, where all the people start to graduate from various educational institutions. It's quite exciting.
It's first of all, I can't believe we're already at this point in the year. I feel like this year's gone by really fast. First, but then
Yes.
second, yeah, it seems like graduation. It used to be. I feel like when I was growing up, Memorial Day was kind of when graduation happened, but now it keeps inching up. Earlier and earlier in May, which is why we're doing our volume 2 of graduation, a graduation mix earlier in May.
Yeah, maybe just because, I don't know, time just seems to be simultaneously fast, but also stretched out. So by the time May hits around, everyone's like, yeah, well, I feel like we've been in school for ages. Let's just wrap this thing up. Everyone's learned enough. Go home.
Although there's way more vacation days now with school than I feel like there used to be. Yeah.
That's great, though. I think
you think that's great. Well, you're not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you have kids and you need to occupy them, it's not so great, Samer. Okay.
I mean, my vacation days are full of just like Netflix and video games. So
okay. You know what? Let's just move on to the show. Okay. I don't want to get into a whole thing here. All right. But the parents out there know what I'm talking about. All right. So we put together another graduation mix. I think we had a lot of fun thinking about this last year. And I remember I took the tack last year of kind of songs I remember from when like I graduated at various points in my life. And, maybe they didn't quite fit as neatly for like a graduation mix. So it was kind of fun for me to revisit this one and take it from a, hey, what would I think about now when it comes to graduation?
yeah, I like that. I took a different tack as well. Mine was really just more of like setting off on a new journey, and so that's kind of it's the theme of mine. But with that, let's get into it. Your first pick is first on our mix, and it is "Movin' Right Along" by Fozzie and Kermit.
Yes, two of the very talented animals in the Muppets, for those of you who are not familiar. I love the Muppets growing up. I loved, this is from the Muppet movie, which was like their first movie. So they had the Muppet Show, which was on like primetime television for quite a while. And then they made the Muppet movie. All the Muppet movies had these great soundtracks in them. And so I don't think my kids have fully gotten into it. I've tried to show them some Muppet stuff. They're not too into it. But the music on these is great. And the Muppet movie also featured Rainbow Connection, which I think I could have used also on a graduation mix. But I decided to use kind of Movin' Right Along, which is kind of just a fun back and forth song with Fozzie and Kermit. And it's such a happy song. I mean, the lyric I'll call out, moving right along, footloose and fancy free. Getting there is half the fun. Come share it with me. So, good reminder that like the journey, even though sometimes it sucks and it's not exactly where you want to be, like that is part of the fun. So hopefully you can look back at the years, prior to graduation or even if you're getting ready for a reunion maybe and thinking back on your years in school that, you can think about the journey and the fun you had with your friends along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. This is such an adorable song. I'm so happy that we got to discuss the Muppets on our show, for the first time. We need more Muppet features, I think. We just got to throw
There's
them into
plenty
the
of good
mixes here and
music
there.
out there. I'll keep bringing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for it. But you're right. Yeah, I love that. And I think that's the theme that we'll repeat over and over again of just enjoying the journey and looking about where you've come from. And even if it was challenging, that's part of what makes you where you are today or puts you where you are today. So it's good stuff. Great opening mix.
All right, your first pick, track 2, we've got We Are Young by Fun featuring Janelle Monae.
Okay, yeah. So, I was thinking about certainly whenever you graduate, you tend to be like on the younger side, right? Especially like if you're in middle school, like you definitely are young by all
Right,
measures of
right.
that word. And certainly, even in high school, I think back to my high school self, and I thought I was so old, but looking back, I'm like, oh my God, like young Sammer, you have so much to learn. But one thing that I have learned as I've gotten older is that young can also be truly a mindset. We both graduated, you and I, from a graduate program. I think I was in my 30s. I don't know what age you were. Maybe you're rounding out your 50s or 60s at that point. Um,
Well, I'm
but I
107 now, so let's just work backwards.
right.
But anyway, that's the math is for another day.
I don't know if you felt this way, but you do feel young at a graduation event. And I think maybe it's because it's like such a great little fun marker in your book, like a good chapter marker of like you're closing out something, you're starting something new. And starting something new, you can always feel young. So I love this song as a good reminder for that. And I also just love the energy of it and the feeling of, like we can do anything that we want. We can burn brighter than the sun. I just love that. It's such a great anthem song for feeling like the world is yours for the taking.
You're right. It's very much if not physically you're young, it's a mindset thing, and I think part of graduation is you are starting something new, and I think that might be one of the keys of maybe continuing to feel young is that you've got new challenges in front of you, and you're constantly trying new things. I think that's something that I don't know. I think that helps me because you're right. Like I'm older than you, Sammer, but I don't necessarily feel my age, and I think part of it is that I do sort of put different things in front of me and try new things. So I think that's part of graduating, whether it's from an institution or just from like, hey, you're moving from one job to the next, right? And you're moving to a higher position, whatever it is. And yeah, I think it's part of feeling young. But yeah, this song is great. I love all the musical changes throughout. It's just really well put together. And I remember this coming out; it was just very different from other things on the radio, so it really stood out there. But yeah, great song, great pick for this mix.
Awesome. All right, your next track is one I really enjoyed, and actually listening to it from this point of view of kind of a graduation song, I loved it even more. And it is "No Such Thing" by John Mayer.
Yeah, this is John Mayer's like debut single, right? And I remember when this came out, it was like 2001, 2002, somewhere around there from his first album, Room for Squares. And it's pretty much about not going along with the path they lay out for you in high school. And he actually, for the video, I mean, he talks in the song about running through the halls of his high school, and he wanted to film the video literally in the halls of his high school. But then they heard the song, and the administration was like, "I don't think so. Like, it's not the most flattering song about your experience here at our school." But
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of about forging your own path, which he was absolutely doing at this point in his career, obviously with his first big single. But yeah, just generally, it's kind of you don't have to do with what other people are doing. Like Sam and I met in business school, and there's plenty of people we went to school with who went into finance, right? They're doing whatever in the financial world, and he and I host a podcast, so it's not. It's kind of about figuring out what works for you and sort of moving forward. So I've always loved this song, and I didn't get to include it last year on the graduation mix, but I think it's perfect for a mix like this.
Yeah, I totally echo everything you said, and I love the sentiment of what the song is trying to say. Like they love to tell you stay inside the lines, but something's better on the other side. And then the other line I really love is "I'd like to think the best of me is still hiding up my sleeve." And I like that. I like this idea of just constantly kind of searching for the best version of yourself and wanting to improve. And I had never paid attention too much to the lyrics. I do remember loving the song when it came out and being like, "Oh my gosh, who is this? Like, this sounds amazing," and just the vibe of it. So putting it in the perspective of like starting something new and a new chapter in your life, I think is it's so great. It added like added a new kind of layer to it of appreciation that I didn't have before. So always enjoy that whenever a song kind of I rediscover a song at a different point in my life with a whole new meaning.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean that happens a lot with pop songs where you just kind of have heard it so many times, and then it's like, oh, let me dig in the lyrics, and it's like, yeah, it is. It becomes a new discovery. But yeah, with this one, I mean, not to belabor the lyrics, but I just found out there's no such thing as the real world. Just a lie. You've got to rise above, and it's like, yeah, we all just kind of fall into this sort of standard construct when it's like you can kind of do whatever. And I feel like even more so now than it was like when this song came out. Like this song is 20 years
Yeah,
old, and it's like now you've got even more freedom to do whatever it is you want to do.
absolutely.
All right. And if you take that path, I think you can rightfully sing this next song to yourself. It is I Lived by OneRepublic.
This is, yeah, another anthem song, absolutely. You know, a reminder to live your life, to be bold, to dream big, you know, to not let the world tell you what to do and you can't do. And you know, he wrote it for his child, I believe, if I remember correctly, and just kind of like hoping, you know, that his kid one day would look back and think like, "Yep, I did it all," you know. And so I think that that's like a fun way of kind of thinking about your next chapter in life. Like, what is it that you want to be doing? What will you one day look back on and be proud of yourself for doing it all? I've always loved the line too in the song. I hope you fall in love and it hurts so bad, because it's interesting. You know, you wouldn't want to wish on someone that like they hurt, but you know, ultimately, I think what he's trying to say is that like you lived, right? Like living sometimes is loving a lot and getting hurt in the process, because love is like all encompassing. And that could be true for a relationship. That could be true for a professional, like career choice, for something you love to do. You know, like you give it all into a sport, for example. And it can hurt, but like that's part of being alive and doing the things that, you know, make us feel peak human, let's say. So I just love this song, and it's one that I come back to a lot whenever I want to feel like pumped up and kind of excited for another chapter in my life.
Yeah, and this is a great tie-in to just the song before because it's kind of about forging your own path and doing what's out there. And but I do like the reminder that you pointed out here that there's going to be some pain along the way, but that's part of it. And just like the Muppet said at the beginning, like the journey's half the fun. And if you don't have that pain, you're not going to feel the joy. You know, if it's nothing but
Yes.
good times the
Yeah.
whole time, it really starts to dull that feeling quite a bit. So yeah, really embrace that because that's what makes it great once you get to that destination.
And as you think about all the things that, you know, you did in your life, that brings us to our next track, track number 5, and that is In My Life by the Beatles.
Yes, this is Sammy, you've been pointing this out on certain songs that we've had on the show lately, so I'm going to point this out. This is number 23 on the top 500 songs of all time. How about that? That's a high
Wow.
one, isn't it?
That's very
Very
high. Yeah.
high. I should have checked with our friends ranking the Beatles, their podcast to see where it was on their list, or if they've done this one yet. But from the 1965 album Rubber Soul, written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, of course. Ultimately, this is a love song, but I mean, it's no doubt a song about reflection, about people who have come and gone in your life. So, you know, hopefully you don't experience too much loss if you're on the younger side in high school or college at that point. But certainly, I thought about this one as it relates to a reunion or when you think back at graduation. I thought it was, you know, kind of just perfect because you will think back on things. You know, if you ever go through an old yearbook, you'll look at faces that you haven't thought about in years and events that happened. And that's also a really cool experience. But yeah, I couldn't think of a better song for this than In My Life.
Yeah. Excellent pick. And I was kind of laughing that it's like nostalgic to me, maybe, you know, because it's the Beatles and like they've been around a long time. And so I grew up, you know, listening to it at some point. And so I heard it and I was like, oh, but then also it's like the subject matter is kind of that nostalgia of looking back and thinking about old times, but then, you know, kind of also have an eye towards the new things too. And so I wasn't sure if it was just like a double whammy or the song itself really does just kind of want you to look back and have that feeling of like reflecting. So I'm not sure. I can't separate out my own history from from what the song is talking about as well. So I thought that was interesting. But great song. I definitely would put it in my top 500. I don't know if it would make number 23,
A
but
little controversy. A
yeah,
little controversy
yeah,
there.
that's
Yeah,
right.
this one would be interesting to listen to just the instrumental and see if it had
Hmm.
the same effect as the whole song as it's presented. Like to your point, I mean, it may be both that's kind of at play here. So that might be an interesting
Right.
experience. All right, let's pick the energy back up. I love this pick. You went with "Times Like These" by Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've used this song before. Maybe on for I don't know, so many reasons, but potentially I think it was on a New Year's mix because it really is like a good it's like a good chapter marker song. I keep coming back to that of like if you think of your life as a book, you can kind of draw lines, in terms of like, okay, this is the end of this chapter and here's a new one. And graduation is a very natural point of doing that. And as you mentioned earlier, sometimes getting a new job is another chapter marker, starting a new relationship, ending a relationship, whatever the case may be. These can all be kind of like, page breaks or chapter breaks. So in those moments, I really like this song to kind of think about and play because, as he sings, it's times like these you learn to live again. And so in the theme of everything else that I have had on my mix, it's just like, yeah, thinking about where are you at and what choices you're going to make and to remind yourself to kind of to live again. You learn to do it all over again, starting with this new chapter and possibly new people and new surroundings and all that good stuff. So the other verse that I really love is where he sings, "I'm a brand new sky to hang the stars upon tonight. I am a little divided. Do I stay or run away and leave it all behind?" And I think those are often choices that we are making whenever we graduate as well. Like sometimes you are off to, let's say you graduate college or high school, you might be off to a new city and state because you're going to a different college and you don't know if you want to do that or not as you're applying. Like there are all these like big choices and things that you're musing on, and just remind yourself that life is for living and you're going to make choices and just roll with it and make the best of it that you can.
Those are the exact lyrics that I called out actually when I was writing this down. That stood out to me
Nice.
too. Yeah, love the energy of this song, and you're right. It's almost like the experience you had with the John Mayer song because I've heard the song so many times, but never really thought about it in this context. And I was like, yeah, this is a good one for that. Yeah, this is great. So
Nice.
yeah, and especially those lines that you just read. So yeah, there's decisions to be made, but I mean, I think if you take the energy from the song, like you should be fired up about graduating, and you should be excited about that new chapter because ultimately change, like you always learn something from a change, right? Even
Yes,
if that experience
absolutely.
ends up being tougher than you imagined or whatever the case may be, I mean, there's always going to be a lesson. You're always going to get better out of that. So, you should be excited about it. And it is times like that where you learn to live again, right? Like it's just perfect.
Awesome. All right, your next pick is definitely a funny one, but has a really good message if you stick with the lyrics. And so I was a little surprised by this one, and it is "Graduation" by Blanco and Juice World.
Yeah, I wanted to leave no doubt that I understood the assignment. So I just picked a straight ahead.
Yes.
I picked a song called Graduation. And it's funny because they sample a song called Graduation by Vitamin C, which was that on our volume
Yes.
one, I think.
It had to have been if it wasn't. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I feel like it was.
So these two are kind of having fun with it, but you're right. It is about kind of, sort of looking back and kind of feeling good about where you ended up, even though high school was not exactly perfect, right? And even for these two who have done pretty well for themselves, like they kind of start talking about stuff from high school. And I'm guessing probably it was probably pretty accurate, right? That they had some rough times in high school because let's be honest, we all did. And I
Yeah.
think they do a good job here, where it's kind of a fun song. It sounds good, and but yeah, it's pretty straight ahead. It's about graduation.
Yeah, you definitely understood the assignment. That was good. And I really love the line though, like as the song progresses, they sing, "I was waiting for my graduation, growing impatient. What I didn't know was this grown-up world was just school in a blown-up world. There's still gossip, there's still drama, there's still problems, there's still a right and there's a wrong." And I think that's so great because as I've gotten older, I have realized that I don't think we ever really age out of our like childhood selves. I think we just get bigger vocabularies. And you see a lot of behaviors in yourself and in other people too, of just like, wow, you're kind of acting like a 7-year-old. And so I'm just kind of convinced that there really is no difference between school and real life. It's just the context in which you like, in the roles that you play, basically. But he's spot on. There's not much difference. You just kind of like change the role, but you're still the same actor.
I think it's pretty accurate. Yeah. And if you look, if you look at a lot of actors' careers, that's a lot of what they do, right? It's like
Right.
you just go from playing like action hero to older action hero, right?
Right. Speaking of, I just watched Top Gun
Oh,
Maverick. It was
there you
really good.
go.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. 80s music just hits differently, even in
Even in
2022 or 2023.
Well, speaking of action heroes, okay, Dwayne the Rock Johnson makes an appearance in Moana, and you picked a song from the Moana soundtrack. It is "How Far I'll Go," but this is the version by Alessia Cara.
Yeah, I'm just obsessed with this version of the song. I think her voice is. I love her voice. I love all of her music, so I always end up picking her cover of it. Um, but I just again love the song in terms of the theme of asking yourself like, how far are you going to go? And I talk a lot on the show Super Awesome You about not putting limits up for yourself. We frequently are the ones that stand in our own way. Like we'll go into something new and just immediately kind of put boundaries up ourselves and be like, oh well, I'll never get that, or I'll never be fast enough, or I'll never be good enough or strong enough. And we do that, from a lot of conditioning and a lot of fear and a lot of like different reasons. And I think that sucks because then you'll just end up kind of like living up to those exact boundaries because like your brain listens. And so I love this song as a reminder of like, go the other way. Just ask yourself how far you're going to go. Like there are, you will find boundaries, and then how do you break past them? And entrusting yourself to do that, and seeing how far, see where the line meets the sea, it calls me, and no one knows how far it goes. And she's absolutely right. Like we don't know how far it goes, and things that seemingly were impossible are frequently proved to not be impossible anymore. And that's like the entire amazingness of humanity and breakthroughs and all of that stuff. So maybe you're the one that pushes the limit. So yeah, I love that song for this reason.
That's great, and of course, it's the great Lin Manuel Miranda at work here. So, not surprising that he
Hmm.
puts out a great song. Yeah, for those who have never heard this, they actually play this during the credits of the movie. So, if you've watched Moana like 300 times because you have young kids like I have, you will hear this song near the end. But yeah, it does a really good job of it. But totally agree, like it really is about you know how far you can push yourself. And I think progress is made when people kind of, do push past those boundaries, right? Just in general. It's like if we kind of just stick to what's not necessarily normal, but really like kind of what's socially acceptable sometimes, right? Like, when you have the weird job out of everyone at the party, like it does, that's going to stand out. Like you're going to get some attention. Like, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
But if it's something you love doing, then that's awesome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll leave you one quick thing before we go on to the next song. Everyone thought it was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Like there were scientists and physiologists and everyone. They were like, nope, human body cannot run a 4-minute mile. And then someone ran a 4-minute mile, like under a 4 minute. It was like 3:58 or something like that. And then after that happened, a bunch more people started running sub 4-minute miles. And so it really does just take that kind of first person to be like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then all of a sudden everyone else believes that boundary is no longer a boundary. So I think there's a lot of power in kind of like not accepting, what people are telling you isn't possible. So it's good stuff. All right. Let's round this out. Track number 9, home stretch here. And it is good advice also, which is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis.
Yeah. So, okay, let's be honest. Junior high and high school can be really difficult, right? And I'm old enough to have gone to a few reunions at this point, and people do show up to reunions kind of ready to fight, right? Like that they're ready to kind of, settle old scores. Like that's not something that just happens in movies. Like I've seen a little bit of that happen in real life. but I think part of it is exactly what's going on with this song. It's like when you just look back in anger, like that's what's going to come out of it is you're going to be a really angry person. And even if you go and accomplish some goals that you think are going to prove some people wrong, like I promise you those people have not thought about you as much as you've thought about them, and you're just
Right.
hanging on to these things that they're all in your mind. So I would encourage people, don't look back in anger. Think about all the good times. I promise the good times were there. And you just have to kind of bring it out. It's kind of what you focus on. So thought at this point in the mix, it'd be a good time for some advice. So yeah, don't look back in anger.
Yeah, it is good. It is really good advice, and it also was a reminder, at least from the song perspective, of like, wow, I really loved this album
I
by
know
Oasis.
it's
Like, I
so
need to spend
good,
more time.
right?
It's so good.
Talk about don't look back in anger. I mean, the Gallagher brothers could probably afford to do that themselves, right?
That's true. Yeah, no kidding. My goodness.
All right, your next pick, track 10. You've got "Don't Stop Believin'" by Journey.
It's so funny, I just now realized that we both picked songs in the exact same positions
I
on our
did.
mixes that start with the word "don't."
I That
So
was my
bizarre how that
first note. I
happens.
was like, once again, we don't plan this, but we both kind of hit the advice track at the same time. It's like, oh, it's almost to
Right.
the last track. Okay, let me give them some advice. Well, what's some good advice? Okay,
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, "Don't Stop Believin'" is also great advice. So those are your 2 takeaways from today's super awesome mix. If you've got nothing else, don't look back in anger and don't stop believing. I mean, you gotta put this would absolutely be in my top 500 songs of all time, right? Like, there's no question. It's such a good song, such a party favorite, also a great karaoke song. Like, you play this in any karaoke bar, you're gonna get the entire room going with you, especially at the chorus. Um, I outside of that, like in terms of a graduation song, I think it's a perfect theme for it, which is again just that reminder of like believe in yourself. Like the second you stop believing in yourself, other people are going to stop believing in you too. Like their patience will run out with you after some point. But if you believe in yourself, like other people again are going to cheer you on. They're going to want to follow, and kind of help you out and open doors for you. So be your biggest champion, and you will just be amazed at what you can accomplish. So that's my advice, and it's wrapped up perfectly in a great song and song title.
yeah, great advice. This song is iconic. Everybody knows it. This song is over 40 years old, and once it starts playing, I think everybody gets on board. It's a happy song, right? Everybody's going to get in a good mood as a result of it. So you can't help but just buy into the message here, right? Don't stop believing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to add there except, yeah, I mean, just great advice. Like once you graduate, you've just accomplished this big thing. So use that confidence to kind of believe in yourself and push forward and don't stop believing because you are able to accomplish things.
Absolutely. And you might say that you feel like you're on top of the world, which is your next pick, and actually a song we both put on the mix. I had to change mine out. So yeah, On Top of the World by Imagine Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned "Don't Stop Believing" as a joyful song, but this one might be more joyful. I don't know, but yeah,
Yes.
I just love
Yeah.
the spirit and the energy of this one, and yeah, that moment where you kind of get your diploma and you're kind of looking out, and your friends and family are there. It's like you're on top of the world right then. I just thought by title and just the song alone here, it's like you just did something big there, and so go on to the next thing, right? And accomplish that. So use that momentum from being on top of the world at graduation and just keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wrote here too, this song is like pure joy in 3 minutes. It's joyful. It's got such a great message. I also really love the opening line, as more great life advice, which is if you love somebody, better tell them while they're here. And I think that's great too. It kind of fits that theme of like don't look back in anger. And it's, don't miss your opportunities. Like it's never a bad thing to tell someone you care about them, you love them, in whatever way that is. Like it's just kind of a nice message and a nice feeling to tell people you appreciate them and thank you for everything that they did, in your life. So I think that's great. And passing that on also can help you feel on top of the world. Good positive vibes all around. But absolutely love the song, and it's a great way to kind of put a cap on our graduation
Oh,
mix.
nice. Cap on the graduation mix. Well, let's put the cap on the graduation mix. Your last pick, last track on the mix. We've got Memories by Maroon 5.
Yeah, this was my next immediate pick since I couldn't do On Top of the World. And it's a good one though, because I just thought, like, as you graduate, you're going to think back on all your memories, and many years will go by and you'll still kind of reflect on your time in school, and hopefully they're all good memories, but sometimes they're going to be painful ones, as we talked about. But the pain and the good and all of that mixed together brought you to where you are today and made you who you are. So hopefully you can kind of appreciate it for that, whether that's a catalyst for change or whether that's a moment of gratitude, depending on where you are. So I think memories have a lot of power in helping shape what we do next. And I really love the lyric here too, that he sings, everybody hurts sometimes, everybody hurts someday, but everything's going to be all right. And I think as long as you have that attitude of kind of like, this too shall pass, and what do I do today to kind of make things better, and what can I do? Again, you'll be unstoppable. So I thought, what a great way to kind of round out the graduation mix of thinking back on memories, and hoping that you continue to be awesome as you go forward.
Love it. Yeah, they wrote this song after their longtime manager passed away. So it was kind of directly a song about loss. But, when you graduate, you're going to ultimately lose something, right? Right? We talked about it earlier. Like, you're
Mhm.
changing something. You might move to a new city. You're going to make new friends, and maybe you don't keep in touch with old friends. And, time passes, things change. But I do think the memories here is a perfect way to go out, because like I said earlier, there are a lot of good memories in any experience, and hold on to that. And I think it's a great way to remember times past, and just sort of, be happier in the moment as well.
Absolutely.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. It's Graduation Mix Volume 2, another super awesome mix for your collection. We're going to graduate to another mix very soon, of course. And so, in the meantime, you can follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. And for Sammer, this is Matt, and we'll see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop DLMsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's DLMsupplyco.com.